employees. They provide job costing and project management, as well as doing financials for the company or group of companies.
Are you on there?
We have over 750 clients that we've onboarded onto the platforms that we represent. And while you may not, we transition approximately 50 new clients per year. And I believe our exposure to those 750 clients across the country in all different disciplines of construction and real estate really allows us to see best practices. And, you know, I believe we're local and proven with Canadian contractors. We understand T4s and ROEs and T58 teams and GST and HST and holdback management around all of those concepts. The implementation philosophy that we bring to the table is integrating software and process for business. I believe everything starts over here on the right-hand side, reports, getting the right information to the right people at the right time to make more informed decisions, mitigate your risk, and drive increased profitability. Anything that comes out of our solution is a report. So that could be a job cost report. It could be an AR invoice to your customer based on the type of contract that you negotiated. It could be a subcontract that you let downstream to a subcontractor. It could be a PO that you issue to a material vendor. It could be a financial statement or a trial balance, an income statement, a balance sheet. It could be a labor-specific report. Again, anything that comes out of the software to us is a report. The reports I'll show you today are all standard and ship with the software, but we can make modifications to any of those reports. Over on the left-hand side is process. So process to me defines which information at which interval do we need to capture in the field or in the office, enter into the software in order to meet those reporting requirements. So time being captured in the field and you know, coded to the job and coded to a cost code or coded to a work order, and then taken through an approval process, either at the foreman or the project coordinator or project manager level, prior to it be sitting there in payroll waiting to be processed to do the gross to net calculation and pay the employee. Production units out in the field, equipment time in the field, completing daily field reports or initiating POs or requisitions for materials or starting a change order. Any of that information, you know, it's all information that can be captured in the field, entered into the software, and then processed through and end up on the necessary reports. You know, over the last 20 plus years, we've developed a series of very extensive implementation tools and techniques, you know, starting with a client profile. So if you were to decide to proceed on the Acumatica platform and partner with Constructive Solutions, the first thing we do is provide you with a client profile, which is a very detailed questionnaire about your business. We need to understand before we can start making recommendations about how to configure the software to meet the needs of your group, a group of companies, single company or group of companies. So then that client profile really becomes the agenda for the planning session. Again, we go through your business in a great amount of detail in order to understand how to configure the software. That proof of concept, you know, following the planning session, we'll develop a statement of work that'll reiterate what your prioritized requirements are and how you're going to measure success in this implementation. In addition, it'll have a detailed estimate for our participation and a detailed schedule to complete the initial phase of the implementation and get you up and live. You know, we work with you through a planning, piloting, where we're testing the proof of concept and we're running all the sample transactions through the software to ensure that those AP invoices and those time entries and all of the forecast detail that we're entering into the software is flowing through the software in the configuration that we're trying to test out and is ending up on all the reports that you require. We then look at organizing the data from Sage 50 and QuickBooks and the other construction-specific accounting software that you're on, and we organize that data for import into the software to meet your go-forward reporting requirements. So again, if there's changes to your GL structure, or if you're looking to deploy a job cost subledger with job numbers and cost codes and cost types and transactions and coding to that level, we're going to need to organize your old data into the new format to again meet those go forward reporting requirements. You know, our job is not done when you go live. We're there to support you in your first AP check run and your first payroll and your first month-end close. You know, the software, we don't just sell the software, we need to support you in the implementation of that software to ensure a fast and solid return on the investment you're making. Let me get back over here. You know, why I decided to partner with Acumatica, so I've been selling software into the construction industry for 20 plus years. You know, I've been waiting for 10 plus years for a next generation technology. We have other products in our portfolio. I represent the Sage construction specific software platform, so Sage 100 Contractor and Sage 300 CRE. Acumatica is the first cloud-based solution in my portfolio. I had been waiting for over 10 years for a next generation technology. I was approached by Acumatica in 2018. They asked me to represent their product in Canada. They don't sell direct, they go through a channel of resellers. And so I went down and I met with the group in Seattle, liked them, liked the direction that they were heading, and decided to partner with them to represent their cloud-based construction specific edition into the Canadian marketplace. You know, new clients such as yourself, even before COVID, but certainly there's been an acceleration since COVID, are looking for cloud-based solutions. They want to provide their employees who are anywhere on any device at any time access to the information so they can be effective in their jobs. So whether that's on a phone at the site or whether that's at a home office or a site trailer, you know. So new clients wanting cloud-based solutions. In addition, my 700 plus clients who've invested in the Sage platforms are looking ahead to you know, the next step. They've got a good return on that investment, and some of them are considering wanting to migrate to the cloud to future-proof their business. The Acumatica Construction Edition is Canadian ready. You know, they've got French language, they've got localization for all the taxes, all the government filing and reporting requirements upstream to CRA are available, as are the EFT, so the electronic fund transfers, and we have the Canadian configuration available and ready out of the box to communicate upstream to do electronic fund transfers to your vendors for payment of AP vendor invoices, as well as to your employees for payroll. So Acumatica is a technology company. Really, they're geeks. They have, you know, they really are looking to, they take the responsibility of providing software and additional features in the software very seriously. I've been to 3 annual conferences now. They come in a day before. There's 180 people that come in a day before and actually have a hackathon. So they're very intrigued by technology. They want to see how artificial intelligence and machine learning can make their software and their users work smarter and not harder. And we're seeing enhancements and features in the product that are coming out that are deploying some of those, you know, artificial intelligence and machine learning. They have a truly unique offering in the construction ERP space with unlimited licensing model. They believe that the more people that are in the software, the more your company is going to be on the same page. So Acumatica itself, they're a bunch of ex-Microsoft people. They left in 2008 and formed Acumatica. They saw that cloud-based computing for ERP software was the way of the future, and they started building, they formed Acumatica, and they had their first product for release 2 years after forming. So in 2010, they had their first edition. It was a core set of financials, very powerful, and they've grown from there. They had 35 developers in Montreal, developers in Mexico City and Moscow. The parent company, they were acquired in the summer of 2019 by EQT Partners, a $40 billion private equity fund, which has accelerated investment into Acumatica. Acumatica will remain the brand for North America for that small to medium-sized customer. And so they're very fast growing. You know, they have over 6,500 customers, 98% revenue growth in 2019 alone. They don't sell their product direct, they go through a channel, and my company is their channel partner for the distribution of their Canadian construction software. Acumatica has over 350 employees in R&D. Over 80% of their total workforce of 420 are in R&D, so business analysts and programmers. The pace at which they're releasing additional enhancements in the construction edition is extraordinary. I mean, dealing with multiple publishers and seeing the pace at which they release product is it's truly been refreshing over the last couple of years. And as you see, when we get into software, they won many design. They continue to win design and intuitive design and usability awards. So the construction edition was built from the ground up. In 2008, iPhones were out on the market. So everything they've done has been designed specifically for the web and the mobile platforms. It's built on this XRP platform, which really allows for interoperability and connected cloud, which I'll highlight a little later. Anywhere, anytime, access on any device or browser. Again, for unlimited users, right? The interface is super friendly and highly configurable, as you'll see when we move around in the software. Google-like search to get you wherever you need to be in the software. It's a software as a service, right? So there's no hardware required in your office. The software resides in Amazon Web Services in Canada, so your data never leaves Canada. And obviously Amazon has very high uptimes, 99.999 uptime as a backbone for the Acumatica platform. And since over the last series of years, the approach to developing software has changed. Now with these new modern platforms, you can easily integrate many different products in a seamless way to move data between the different databases. So everybody, your operations and your service and everybody's on the same page, looking at the same data, although it may be entered into multiple databases initially. Again, Acumatica consistently ranked highest in usability. These are, Gartner and C2 and Nucleus do research on an ongoing basis. It's enrolling end user customers to provide these ratings. And again, consistently, Acumatica is being rated as a leader in the usability. I mentioned anywhere, anytime, any device, any browser. So wherever you are, they have Alexa over here, where you can say, Alexa, print my job cost report, or give me an aged receivable report, and it'll actually print it onto your printer for you. Unlimited licensing, so they really don't care how many people, the more the better that are in the software. You don't have to figure out how many named users you have, how many concurrent users you require, which individuals are in which applications. Obviously, they have very robust security that's configured to allow and limit what people see and where they go based on their role and responsibility. But again, so it's very scalable. You're not penalized for growing your company and growing the number of people who are interacting with the software. Unlimited online learning, right? So as part of your annual subscription, you get access to Acumatica's community, where there's a whole series of short vignettes on how to set up a vendor, how to enter an AP invoice, how to set up a contract, how to enter a cash receipt, how to set up a job, right? So we incorporate these online learning aids into our delivery, and we give out homework, and you can always go back and get refreshers to minimize the time and effort it takes us to train you on how to on how to use the software once it's been configured for your group. Ultimately, it's my company, Constructive Solutions, responsibility to make sure all your team or staff and all your staff are confident in the use of the software. But again, unlimited online learning, blogs, posts, a community of other users, right? And if we pop in there, there's a whole variety of different areas that you can go. I'm not logged in right now, but there's user groups and product ideas. This is where you can post suggestions. They have people vote on enhancements requirements, and so they take all this very seriously. And there's just a wealth of information here to tap into based on your requirement and your inquiry. So this XRP platform, really, I won't spend a lot of time here, but they selected a toolkit back in 2018, which has proven to be the standard for the development of cloud-based ERP, HTML5, Visual Studio, and .NET framework. So those are the tools that they took a chance on a long time ago that have really become the backbone and have really served Acumatica well. As mentioned, the software as a service is hosted in Amazon. If you have a predisposition to Azure, you can have it hosted there as well. It's built on a very scalable and secure SQL database, multi-company, intercompany accounting, consolidated financials, multi-currency. Native in the software are built-in workflows and notification management. So what do we do when an AP invoice comes into our office, and how do we route it based on our business rules? What do we do when we issue a PO or issue a subcontract? Or what workflow do we want to invoke around change orders or requests for information, and how do we move those through? And how do we, communicate with the different people in that workflow, either from within our company or outside of our company, right? Like if you're dealing with a general contractor as a sub or an owner rep as a general contractor, you can send them an RFI and they can get a link to your software to come in and answer that. And then you get a notification saying, hey, this is in my court. This is awaiting my approval and review. So these are some key tenets. Initially, they came out with the financials. So they serve different markets: small business, advanced, and enterprise. We're looking at the small business and advanced. They initially came out with financials, then added inventory. They started to serve the distribution and manufacturing marketplace, and then in early 2018, they came out with their construction edition, which we're going to be featuring today. So just one more slide here. So that XRP platform and the modern technology stack really allows us to integrate with many different construction-specific solutions. If we look here, so Acumatica's Construction Edition as an ERP has an interface to Procore, which is a collaborative project management software. ProEst, which is a estimating, helps you with your cost formulation. Smartsheet, which is a scheduling platform. Again, all of these solutions are unlimited license software as a service, subscription-based solution for your company, and they all integrate, right? Whether with integration with DocuSign, Power BI, Office 365, you have a portfolio of leases that you're looking to manage. So a variety of different construction-specific point solutions that all integrate back to Acumatica. In the presentation today, I'm going to cover off general navigation, user interface, and dashboards, and then give an overview of project accounting and management. I think if we look at what a construction edition software offers, it's budget management, right? So the ability to establish an original budget for a job at a cost code level, and then track, any budgets by both costs and hours. The ability to see the original budget versus a revised budget, providing you with a complete audit between original and revised by using our change management software. We work with you to manage your commitments. So issue and manage purchase orders and subcontracts by job and by vendor. We provide you into visibility into what you have committed to spend, and ensuring that you're not going to exceed the PO amount or the revised contract amount. We manage compliance, so up to different types of insurance. Somebody's got us on hold, I believe. That's the beeping. So we track compliance and insurance to make sure that you're not taking on additional liability. We do holdback management, both from an accounts payable standpoint when you're issuing subcontracts. We manage the holdback on those, as well as your contract with customers. So your contract holdback when you're releasing invoice. Full change management. the ability to create and manage potential change orders so nothing falls through the cracks. You can start a change as early as you need to and then work that through. We tag statuses to those potential change orders, right? So when we come in and we look at a potential change order log, whoops, give me a sec here. If I come in and I look at a potential change order log, right, it's going to show me what my original contract was. Here's all the approved potential change orders that have been approved, revising by, so I've got $33,000 in approved changes to a revised contract 865 that I can now progress down against. And I have another $27,000 in pending changes, potential changes tagged with different statuses, right? So not issued or potential or submitted or verbal okay. These are user definable changes. So we have these potential change orders flowing through to owner change orders. So when a potential change order is approved, we can help you cost out those potential change orders. When they're approved, we issue any subcontract change orders that may flow downstream, as well as any owner change orders. We get those onto the contract as a new line item in your progress contract. We help you with your work in progress, your WIP management. We track everything within the system in order to help you with your WIP. So at any time, you can go and look at and see what your work in progress is and how much revenue you should be recognizing. And then we have job cost reports throughout the system. So if I pop back over, let me close out of there. No, don't save. Are there any questions before I jump into the product? Any questions come up yet that we might be able to address? 4 questions. Anybody want to know? Okay. Okay. Are there any questions regarding what we've been viewing today so far? Okay, if not, I'm just gonna give you a second here. Let me get into the project overview dashboard. Make that a little bigger, and let's refresh to make sure I'm current here.
Pat, I don't see any questions. I went and unmuted everybody. There's no questions in the chat at this point.
Okay, great. Thanks, Tom. Okay, so when you log into Acumatica, it's going to ask for your username and your password. That's really going to drive what it is that you can see, which applications you have access to. So if you're a project coordinator, you get to see only the information that we want to make available to a project coordinator on the jobs that they're involved in. As a financial controller, you're going to have different access to different information in comparison to an AP clerk or an AR clerk or a payroll administrator. So we log in. I'm looking at a project overview dashboard. So on this particular project overview dashboard, it's giving me 1 line per job. And we're looking at the revised estimate versus the cost to date, open committed, which is a combination of all the POs and subcontracts on a job, what the remaining estimate is and what the remaining estimate percent is. Here I can look at my remaining estimate by project. So it's very visual. All of these grids allow you to drill down in specifically to a project. In the dashboard, we can embed things like job site cameras or weather panels or any website that you want to bring in. So maybe if you work with a vendor and you're buying materials and you're doing that through their online website, you might have that website up here to allow you to drive down into that. Here I can look at my change order log by all projects, contract status by project. I can come and see, so there's specific things that I can drill down into. If I want to get more information on a particular job, I can identify that job and drill down into that job. So this will bring me into the beach hotel condominiums, I hope. Sorry, I haven't been in this in a bit. It's taking a little while to load up. So I'm in a particular project now. In the project, I have everything that I need to manage this job, all the activities that I'm going to do, as well as all the different areas of the job. So if I want to see the budget on this job, or I want to look at all the POs and subcontracts, or any potential change orders or owner change orders, or what my contract with the owner looks like, all of those are ready and available to me on these different tabs. By coming back to the icon up in the top corner, it'll always bring me back to my home dashboard. You know, if I come and I look at dashboards, over on the left-hand side are work groups. So depending on the mix of applications that you require, we can tailor these different work groups. So I've gone into dashboards. I was just on the project overview dashboard, but as a project manager, I could go and look at a project manager dashboard that's more specific to me as that project manager, and it'll serve up different information. So items awaiting my approval, items that are in my court, change orders that I'm managing, right? So I have my overdue tasks and my tasks. You know, by drilling down into any one of these icons, it'll bring up a list of those tasks that are awaiting my review and my action. Let me just drop back, come back into here. Here's the project overview dashboard. Let's close out of there, get back to the project manager dashboard. So again, serving it up in a more tailored way to meet my requirements as a project manager. So these different work groups, you know, here is where you set up new projects and enter cost, set up your cost code list. So this is a list of all of the different transactions and profiles, things you set up, as well as inquiries and reports that are related to construction. So any of these tasks can be made into tiles for easy reference, things you might use on an ongoing basis. So here I can show a subset, quick look, or I can show all of the different tasks and inquiries and reports within a work group. You'll notice that some of them have a yellow star by indicating, you know, if I wanted to have print and email subcontracts as a common task that I use, I could make it into a tile, or by identifying it as one of my favorites, it'll bring it into my favorites. So favorites allows me to move across all of the different work groups on those tasks that I perform on an ongoing basis. So we have construction, where we set up projects, enter budgets, do our forecasts and cost projections, where we do our generate potential change orders and owner change orders, and we do our progress type and our cost plus all of our contract-based billings in here. You know, under project management, we do issue management, we do request for information management. So that issue, that project issue, can be escalated into a request for information, which can then be converted over into a potential change order and an owner change order, where we're doing different things to it as it moves through. We have daily field logs, or daily logs, daily field reports, photo logs, shop drawing, and some middle management. So our project management is more of a project management light. You know, there are more robust collaborative project management platforms in the market, like Procore, which we integrate with. So again, depending on your specific need for project management, they've done a good job delivering a core set of capabilities here. Obviously, they'll continue to develop out the project management capabilities. I think they're looking, one of their next initiatives is a portal for subcontractors to come in to make applications for payment and view drawings and things along those lines. So, you know, we give you the ability to capture time in the field. Again, the licensing goes down to every employee, right? So employees can enter time. It's all front-end validated to valid jobs and valid cost codes, or a range of cost codes that you might release. That time can then be taken through and approved in the system prior to it going through to payroll to pay the employees. So,
yeah, sorry, one quick question here.
Yeah.
Is there a scheduling portion to this?
No, there is not. We'll integrate back to Smartsheet, which is our, let me just go back here. So Smartsheet is our integrated, you know, so most of our clients are using either Excel, Microsoft Project, or Smartsheet. Acumatic as Construction Edition does not include a scheduling application.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. No problem. Thanks for the question.
Patrick, there was another question in terms of managing work orders and becoming paperless with invoicing. Are those options within Acumatica?
Yeah, for sure. Acumatica has a field services component. So right over here, so we have the ability to, the field services. So we have the ability, a call comes in, you can create a work order, you can dispatch that work order. The technicians can interact with that work order out in the field. They can put their time, they can relieve parts from inventory in the truck, they can issue POs against that work order. That work order can then be routed through an approval process back in the back office, where all that information that was captured in the field can be easily approved, and then we can flip that work order appointment into an invoice to send to the customer. We have the ability on the work order side in field services to create agreements and define what work needs to be done at which interval on which pieces of equipment at a location for that customer. And again, calendar and dispatch boards and the ability to dispatch and track how the technicians are doing on that appointment. Work orders in field services can roll to jobs, or they can just be unique events and can be turned into invoices.
Perfect,
So hopefully that addresses that. Let's go here. I got to get back. This tab up top is bugging me. Let's go back to the project management overview. So I was in time capture. So we have the ability to go in and capture time, approve that time, and route that time through. We're coding it against JAWS. We're coding it against cost codes. We have the ability to extend expense management out to the field. So employees with phones can take pictures of receipts. Those receipts can be put through an approval process or grouped into claims. Those expense claims can then be approved and flipped over into AP invoices, where we're going to pay the employee for their out-of-pocket expenses. So this is time and expense management. If I come back up to favorites, so those are some of the capabilities over here. We have, we have a very robust purchasing. So depending on what you're purchasing, whether or not you do field-based requests that can roll to requisitions, or you can go right and issue a purchase order on the mobile interface to a job against a cost code to a vendor. All that can be done in the field and is then sitting in there for that AP invoice to come in and be reconciled back again. You can receive against, we can gather packing slips out in the field. So all the while we're organizing our data for our AP approval process. Right, so if I come in so up here I was talking, so that's favorites, and favorites combines all the different work groups and the different key. If you manage an inventory, we have a very robust inventory. If you're currently using Procore on the front end for your collaborative project management, Procore isn't going to pay vendors and pay employees and do financials, but it is a good collaborative project management platform. And we have a very robust integration between Acumatica and Procore, allowing operations to live over in Procore and accounting and management to live in Acumatica, all looking at the same data because we're able to sync all the key pieces of data between those two. So that's sort of favorites in the different work groups. I was talking about search. If I come up and start punching and approve, this will go and find any menu items across any of the applications that have approve in it. So I'll go to approval. It'll bring up transactions that are related to approve, help topics, and files. Again, it's a full document management and document control. I guess what I wanted to talk about was I just wanted to bring up approval maps. These are some common workflows that we see customers deploying natively within Acumatica, given the workflow engine. It's a very powerful workflow engine with visual workflows where you can drag and, it's all based on your business rules. Again, but change order approval, request for information approval. What happens when a project issue comes up? What do we do when we're going through and the project manager says, this is what I want to bill? What's the approval process that we take an AR invoice through in our company before it goes to a customer? Same, what's the approval for expense claims and receipts? AP invoices, when they come in, what are we doing? What's the business rule? Does it go, is it partially coded? Does it go to the site superintendent before it goes to a project coordinator, before it goes to a project manager? Through an approval process before it goes back to accounting for final review and approval, and then we pay the vendor. So again, all of these different approval processes can be created based on your business rules, and they can be role-based, or they can be individuals. They can also be dollar-driven. So as the owner of the company, I don't need to see anything. I only want to see AP invoices that are greater than $50,000. And that can be a business rule that's applied to all AP invoices, no matter what job or what general expense they're being incurred in. So we have these approval maps. I'll just jump over here and jump into another company. Again, multi-company, no limit to the number of companies that you can manage. Right? This search is very, very powerful. I think I'll just wait for this to jump over to my other company. You notice that the color scheme is changing. The logo can change. Again, it'll allow me to know which company I'm working in. So if you're using Sage 50 or QuickBooks today, we can pay an invoice in one company and distribute costs of that invoice to multiple companies. You don't have to, you can have multiple companies. I can easily navigate between companies and departments. So if you have companies and departments and divisions that are geographically based and discipline based, we can accommodate. If you have multiple companies within a group, we can handle it. And again, you're not having to get out of one company to go into the other company. It's all within the interface. So I'll come up here. I'll bring up my dashboard based on this company that I'm in. My user profile is determining the order of my work groups. But again, we have some similar information here. So if I wanted to come in, say vendor calls in and says, hey, where's my invoice? What's the invoice number? 95963. So when I do a search for 95963, it'll bring me right to that invoice. So I've got transactions and profiles, help topics and files. When I click on this icon or this item that is found in my search, it'll bring me right to that AP invoice entry grid. So this is our AP invoice entry grid. We get some control over the look and the feel here. We have an AP doc recognition, which is very cool and uses some of that machine learning. Maybe I'll just launch Outlook on my other screen and bring that up. So here I have my bill, they call it bills and adjustments, AB invoice entry. It was 95963. So it was coded to this job against this cost code, and it was for some rebar that we bought. So if I come up here, so here's the vendor and the currency that we're dealing with, the due date. So it's some general information about that invoice. Let me close out of there. If I come up here, you'll notice that there's files attached here. So there's a docket that's created, right? So I get an AP invoice. Just give me a moment here. Let me pop open an invoice. So I get an AP invoice that comes into AP@constructivesolutions.com. I have this Acumatica tie-in. When I'm here, I get the ability to go and do certain things over in Acumatica, I hope. I can create an AP document. So it'll take and scrape the attachment automatically. It'll bring it into an OCR capture feature. It'll look to see if this invoice, if we've received this invoice before from this vendor, it'll match it to a template that was automatically created and reviewed by AP. Over time, you build out this library of invoice templates. So it starts doing your AP invoice for you and starts entering the pertinent information off of that invoice from that vendor specifically into your AP invoice entry grid. I could also take that invoice and create a project issue or create a request for information that I'm going to start tracking. If you're using our CRM, that's a part of the Acumatica suite, you can create a contact or a lead based on the person who sent you that email. And then in the CRM, you can also create things like opportunities and track your pipeline for potential work that's coming down the pipe. So again, this is part of the, when I was over and I was in Acumatica, I was talking about our integration out to Office 365. Well, here's a perfect example of that type of integration you can expect, and the interoperability moving from Outlook into the software to do certain tasks. So again, I could have created an AP document here, and that would have started my AP invoice entry. Sorry, give me a sec. I want to go to that bills and adjustment. So let's get back here. So I went and I showed that docket. When we were looking at that docket, let me bring that back up. I have a copy of the invoice. I have a copy of the PO as a supporting document that the invoice was related to. As I move down through here, I get a date and a timestamp of what the journey of this invoice has been in our company. Oops, sorry, jumping around here. So it's from Ford Metal. There's the invoice number, the amount, the date of the invoice. When was it acquired? Who entered it? When was it approved and by whom? And when was it reviewed and posted to the job and to the general ledger? If there's any receipts or packing slips from the field that may have been part of this approval. Once we cut a check or we do an EFT, the EFT remittance and the check can be combined into this docket. That all is, every time I drill down, so if I close out of here, as I'm in here, I have these files and these dockets that are being created and built out. So when I drill down and I get to this invoice, I can see the AP, I can see the invoice and who and when it was approved and tell that vendor that it's been paid and they should be receiving information. So I drilled down I did a search, right? But if we come back here, let me go into the job record. Hopefully this is giving you a pretty good idea of how to navigate around in the job. But if I want to drill down into the business park, the Burnaby Business Park project that I'm managing, in one central area, I can see everything I need to manage this project. So we assign a job name, user definable. We identify who the customer is on the project. We give the project a description and a name. We have some natural accumulators up here. We can add more detail into these forms, but actual income, actual expenses, and anticipated margin or profit. This is some general data on this particular project. We have the ability to set up project templates, which will copy from one job to another with a lot of the same information. But here I'm talking about who the project manager is, who the project coordinator might be, if you deal in multi-currency, if that's relevant. Are we going to use our change order workflow? Are we going to track production units on this job if it's repetitive and give our employees, when they're entering time in the field, also to say we laid 200 meters of cable or linear feet of concrete, right? So we can get some production management. The project address for shipments. What type of what's the contract type? What's the interval at which? What are the terms on the project? Is there holdback on our contract? So we go through and we set up the project and then we start tracking. So if I want to look at the budget on this job, here I can see these are my cost codes, right? So I'm looking at my original budget, revised budget, original committed, revised committed. So these are combination of POs and subcontracts. What's the actual amount that's come in from AP and payroll? And then we give you the ability to forecast either your your cost at completion or cost to complete, depending on your methodology. And those can be brought in here. If I want to get more, so this is a cost budget. If I want to get more information, I can select a cost code and then I can look at the transactions. So here I have a cost of $13,547 that came into the system. Where did that come into? Right? So I can see it's a labor cost. And I can go down and look at the reference number and it'll give me more information about that particular entry. So now I'm looking at a project transaction and I see some labor. These units at this cost was applied to this particular job and to these cost codes. So I'm starting to get some detail. And I can even find out, I can find out additional information on this particular project transaction. So I can drop out of there I can come back into my commitments. If I want to go down a little further, here I've got another wire. I've got some actual, revised budget. I don't want to go into that one. So we can drill down into the information to get to information. I can also bring up a list of every subcontract and PO that was issued for this job. So if I want to come and look at a purchase order that was issued. So to us, purchase orders are material only and subcontractor are material and installed, but they're both committed costs. So here I have a purchase order that I issued, and I issued that purchase order across multiple cost codes for multiple amounts. If I want to come in here, I can start looking at this PO history. So we assigned, it'll automatically assign a name. We can take it through an approval process. And we have a dollar value. If I want to go look at the PO history, I can start drilling down from the job to the PO. Then I can start getting down into my bills and adjustments. So I did a search to get to 95963 before, but now I can drill down through the project and I get to the same information, see what's making up that cost. Goes out of here. So that allows me to navigate back down. Sorry. Close out of here. So commitments. We have this concept of tasks. So tasks can be set up. They can be jobs within jobs, or we can set up tasks to align to our revenue. So for this project, here's my schedule of values that I'm going to bill the customer against. So this is their bid items, and they prescribe they define what the bid items are, or we do when we bid the job. And so those roll into our AR schedule of values. So here I'm looking at my revenue budget, and here this is the grid that I can come in and say, what % do I want to bill, or how much do I want to invoice? When we set up the contract, it'll also manage the holdback, same as it does on the commitments, right? But when I'm here, I can go and plug in the amount that I want to invoice, and then I can run my project billing from here. And I can send that draft or that invoice directly to the customer from here, or I can route it through an approval process before it goes to the customer. So this schedule of value are defined as we can align the tasks, which are groups of cost codes, to the budget line items, which is nice are aligning to my schedule of values. So I know what my actual costs are when I'm trying to figure out what it is that I want to bill the customer. You note that as change orders are approved, those come onto my schedule of value line items. And again, we're tracking all of our costs at those change order levels. So we know what our actual amounts are, and we know what we've been able to invoice the customer for. So we give you the ability to create potential change orders and track those potential change orders by status, and then convert those potential change orders into owner change orders or contract change orders, right? Any questions about what I'm showing or how we're moving through the data? At any given time, I can see exactly, it's sort of a financial statement for this project. What's the revenue? What's our expenses? What type of margin are we tracking, and what profitability are we tracking, and what % profitability are we tracking? Again, I can limit these different tasks. I can order the tasks to support me in my use. But again, I'm in one area and I can see everything that I need to manage the job and run my potential change orders, create new ones, tag those with statuses, add those to the contract, add them to my budget, my revenue budget, and then do my progress billing against here, and I can run my project billing. And again, there's attachments throughout the system, right? So whether those are on the job, whether those are on the commitment, whether those are on the AP invoice that's coming through. Jump back out. Are there any questions that have come up so far that, based on what I've seen or what I've shown so far?
Patrick, one question I see here, in terms of the clients that are signing up for Acumatica and for cloud services, what are some of the, I guess, the drivers behind that you've kind of seen this year versus prior years?
Yeah, sure, Tom. Thanks. Good question. Well, I think, so we've migrated, I think, so far we have about 25 Acumatica Canadian construction clients. It's a relatively new offering. We've been slow to roll it out. We've been digesting the platform and understanding the best fit for it. I think of the customers that we've migrated across, we've had a number of clients that were previously using some of the Sage platforms and products, and sort of wanted to extend their relationship with us, looking for a new modern platform. We're dealing with general contractors, we're dealing with general construction managers, we're dealing with developers, and we're dealing with specialty subcontractors. I would say, who are dealing more on the labor and dealing more on the material side and the delivery of the services. Acumatica is just releasing its Canadian payroll. So that's, to date, that's limited sort of, we have integrations with ADP and Ceridian. And so for those companies that are using payroll services, we can still capture the time, approve the time, burden that time, but we haven't been in a position so far to pay the employees. And so that's all changing with the release of Canadian payroll in early 2021.
Great, thanks. I think you may need to unmute the lines up at the top right there, Pat, where the...
Sure, let me do that.
Yeah.
I can unmute all, or whomever is whoever is the presenter or the organizer of the meeting. Did you try and unmute everybody, Tom?
I did, yeah. Don't see...
I see everybody being muted.
Yeah. I clicked unmute all, and it looks like everyone's still muted. So if there are any questions, if you click on the bottom left on your mic button, that should unmute you. We tried to do a group unmute, but that doesn't seem to be working. I don't see any questions in the chat here.
Okay. Well, let me just jump back over to the presentation I had up. Hopefully we were able to provide you with a better understanding of who we are as Constructive Solutions, who Acumatica is corporately, and what it is that we work with clients to better manage within the software. And hopefully we were able to provide you with a better look and feel of what it's like to navigate. Hopefully you can see the modern, intuitive design, the ability to drill down, the integration with Office, a variety of different areas. But, from my perspective, I want to thank you for your time and your interest in Constructive Solutions and our offerings. We'll follow up within the next 48 hours to solicit your feedback on the presentation, as well as to develop a plan to support you in your investigation. We have a very structured buying cycle that, our goal is to take you through an investigation to get you to a point where you're making an informed decision. So we need to better understand the uniqueness of your business through a detailed discovery. We want to shape out the investment, and then we'll deliver a tailored demonstration to address your specific requirements, finalize that investment, let you talk to some of our customers as references, and then really get started on the implementation. There's some very attractive year-end COVID incentives through December 31st. So if you're serious about considering a change, there's certainly some incentive to purchase in short order. A December decision would give you the ability to be live in the April or May timeframe. Typically, from the time you say go to when we're going to be live is about 90 to 120 days. So, but thank you all for your time today. Hopefully, we were able to provide you with a better understanding of who we are, or who Acumatica is. And we will be following up.
Great. Thanks, Pat, for the great presentation. And we'll look forward to reaching out to everyone after the session here to develop next steps.
Okay. Thanks, Tom.
All right. Thanks everyone.
Have a great day.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.